you're probably saying to yourself or you're saying to other people, I want to use language that's appropriate. Oftentimes people will say, oh, well, I want to be calm and composed. And you're sending messages when you do that. Also, though, by bringing some of that intentional range to the table,
Yeah.
you're making it very easy for other people to go, oh, this is a big friggin' deal. Welcome to Leading Without the BS. This is Ivan and Cathy, and today we're talking about leaders being too easygoing. This is something that popped up in a podcast I recorded with Brandon Burns that will be dropping later this month, and this was something that when I reflected on what he and I talked about, I thought, ooh, I bet a lot of leaders would be surprised at the concept of being too easygoing.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'll use the phrase overcomposed.
Ooh,
Like they're so good under pressure that they're overly composed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's related. They're similar, not the same, though similar for sure.
Yeah, and when I think about the risks of a leader being overly composed, and I worked with a guy for a number of years who was my direct manager, who was he's a really nice guy. He very much operated if 1 to 10 is a range of most people, he seemed to operate from 2 to 3.5. And
Yeah.
when he was furious or he was totally pissed off about something, he would be a 3.5. The kick in the pants though was I was like, how is that a 3.2? Is that a 3.5? What is that?
Is
Because I
that
was,
two blinks or
yeah,
two blinks might be at a 3.5?
yeah. And it made it harder for me as his direct report and a team member who was working to go do good work. It made it harder for me to go, how big of a deal is this? Where does this fit in to the take immediate action or just be aware of this or not a big deal? And so that compressed range can send messages that actually create confusion for other people instead of using more range.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Definitely creating confusion and hesitancy. Like
Oh yeah.
people are hesitating, like you said. It's so hard to figure out where does this line up on like the list of priorities or like the level of urgency. I am not figuring it out with his facial expressions.
Yeah.
And we, of course, over the years, spent a lot of time just out in intense work environments.
Mm-hmm.
For me, power plant construction sites and
Mm.
working with teams like of experienced leaders. They've been there, done that. Meaning, they've experienced so much that it takes a lot to rile them up.
Yeah. Or throw them.
Yeah, and a lot of those leaders over the years have military background, so they've had years in literal life and death situations, and so this kind of stuff when it's not life and death, it is just not registering on
Yeah.
their radar, and so many leaders have that where they've been rewarded and they've got that super calm demeanor under stress that has worked to their advantage. It's been amazing in helping them be successful. And then it starts to work against them.
Yeah. And what's interesting is when I've talked to some leaders plenty of folks who have been in the military or been in emergency services, law enforcement,
Yeah.
fire, emergency management spaces, and they're taught to have this composed approach to things because it helps them think more clearly. It helps them communicate more effectively with their team members. And that works really well in those situations. What I work to help them do is, and I call it like breaking open that window.
Yeah.
Because right now they got the bottom pane up and the top pane down, and that's a little bitty 2 to 4 band. That's their operating range.
Mm-hmm.
And what I work to do is to help them push that further open
Yeah.
and remind them of little things that a lot of folks take for granted or just do naturally of like, how fast are you talking?
Mm-hmm.
How much volume are you using?
Yes.
What's your intonation like? What are you doing with your hands and your facial expression to help other
Yeah.
people go, oh, he's sitting back, hands in his lap, everything's cool as a cucumber, no big deal. Or this is a big deal. He's talking fast and he's got his hands up and his eyebrows are arching towards the top of his chrome dome. And this is different than what he normally shows up as.
Yeah. The perfect tools and approaches that are so accessible for people to introduce and to break out of their autopilot of being very easygoing or really calm under pressure. I like where you're going with that. that is another reason I developed activating language,
Mm.
is because of so many leaders with their experience. Also, so many leaders that we work with are more reserved. They're a little more introverted because they have come from a real technical background.
Mm.
And so activating language is a thinker's tool for them to expand their range of intensity and move up and down that range strictly with language, not with, some people just aren't as demonstrative with their body language. You and I
Yeah.
talk about this because you're super expressive. And I'm not always as much. I am to an
Yeah.
extent, though. I'm a little more internal, a little more reserved, and so I can use language to
Hmm.
convey
Yeah.
if something is a big deal. And that's something I want to make sure that listeners are keeping in mind. Is there's so many tools and approaches at your disposal immediately.
Yeah.
Of course, that we've built in the Wingspan system, so that if you have a habit of being easygoing or overly composed, this is how you can break out of that, because you're accidentally causing problems and causing confusion
Yeah.
if you stay in the habit of being too easygoing.
The other piece that's great about this is a lot of leaders we work with are engineers, and a
Mhm.
lot of them are wanting to have these good relationships, good experiences, good exchanges with people
Mhm.
that they work with. And
Mhm.
in their heads, they're saying, "Oh, if I'm easygoing, it's easier for other people to feel comfortable around me." And what I help
Mm,
them shift
mm.
to is, well, what I work to help them shift to is, it might also be though they're not clear, they're confused, and they're not saying anything.
Yeah. Plus, if you're really easygoing, and there's little to no intensity, productive intensity
Hmm.
in what you're saying and how you're saying it, then very likely what's happening is that the people around you are in autopilot.
Mm.
You're not the person who's in the habit of being really nice and easygoing is in the habit of not interrupting people's autopilot.
Yeah.
And so that's you're not going to get the best. You're not going to build the best relationship with
Yeah.
that, or you're not going to build what's possible with the people around you when you stay there. And of course, other people stay in autopilot.
It's funny you talk about that piece, because one of the things Brandon gets into in the conversation is how he took his whole team on this journey with him. He said to
Mm.
all of them, "Hey, I've got things to work on. We as a group have things to work on.
Hmm.
Let's go tackle this together."
Yeah.
And that has been amazing to help them as a team really function at a high level. They consistently are one of the best performing plants in their organization. And also, it just is obvious from where I sit in working with each of them and them collectively, how they're building the stronger way of working together, where
Hmm.
they know how to make sure that so and so understands this is a big deal in a
Hmm.
way that's going to resonate for them, and how they may tune that or tweak that as a different approach for this other person.
Hmm.
One
Hmm.
of the analogies I'll sometimes use for people is I'll say, surely you've seen video of like a recording artist or a band in the studio, and they're all mic'd up and rigged up, and they're there, and then there's this big piece of glass, and behind that are all the sound engineers and all those people who are taking that sound, and they're doing different things too, and
Mm.
they have those huge boards. I have no idea what in the hell they are. They have these
Like a
huge boards
mixing
though.
board.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
something maybe that could
Lots
be.
of buttons and
Yeah,
levers and
bingo. All these dials and levers and all these
Mm.
different ways to, I'm assuming, affect how that sound comes through. I say, think about it like that, where when you're working to adjust your message for somebody and you're working to play with that intensity, even if you
Mm.
say, I want to be at a 6,
Mm.
that's where, if my goal is actually to have you be at a 6,
Mm.
if as we start to have this conversation, if you start to go up towards a 7, I may pull this lever down and I may sit back in my chair, or I may
Mm.
slow my speech pattern down a little bit until you come back down to what seems to be about a 6. Or if you drop to a 5, I may go the other direction and start to be more demonstrative with my hands, or use different language that sharpens the conversation so that
Mhm.
the other person's feeling it in a certain way. So I help
Mm.
them think about all those options they have and all
Yeah.
these different avenues to help be help themselves be influential and hit a very specific level of intensity in that exchange.
Yeah. Well, and this focus on intensity, of course, leaders who've been working with us for a while have a really clear picture on what that means and where if a person is in the habit of being so easygoing and they're like you said, the guy was between a 2 and a 3.5, if they're in the habit of being so easygoing, and they're not showing intensity, first of all, people it causes problems because people around you start thinking that's bullshit. Like
Mm.
he is acting like nothing is, like quote unquote nothing's wrong.
Yeah, nothing's getting his
Shit's
attention.
hitting the fan over here.
It's critical.
So what's happening is they start to not trust
Mm.
what they're seeing or what they're getting from that individual because they're not showing any kind of different
Yeah.
emotion. They're not showing like a productive give a shit in those moments. And so, and there's a when there's this habit of being only, at this low level of intensity, intensity is actually information.
Mm.
And so, like you were saying before, if someone is using any number of tools to raise or just move up and down the range of intensity, you are providing really important information to the people around you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just staying overly composed, the people around you are missing out on an entire, um, file catalog.
Aspect, yeah, of the exchange.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In what's been something that's been really eye-opening for me is when I have conversations with leaders and we're talking about intensity. Sometimes they equate intensity in what I think of as like almost one direction. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm upset or
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
disappointed.
Yeah.
And it's really neat when I say, well, intensity can be really in any direction. I can be high intensity by being curious. I
Yeah.
can bring high intensity with excitement that we're going to kick ass on this project or we're going to do this other thing. And so
Yeah.
that shifts me out of that easygoing nature and also helps other people go, oh, wait, this is a big deal. Like he's all fired up about this thing and in a good way. He's all excited or
Yes,
confident that
yes.
we're going to nail this target. Wow, let me really pay attention to what it is that they're saying.
Yeah. Yes, I love that you're bringing it up because some of those leaders who are in the habit are saying, "Well, I don't want to, I don't want to be an asshole, and I don't want to
Yeah.
be this way." Whatever they don't want to be. Again, it's fear based. And so, what I'll say too is a level 7 intensity has many different flavors.
Mm.
Sure, it could be firm.
Mm.
Say if you are supporting someone with accountability around something important or costly for the business. It can also be effervescent.
Ooh. Everyone
and
break out your dictionary for effervescent.
and bubbly, like you said, it can be enthusiasm
Yeah.
that is up at a level 7. And so, yeah, when as we talk about intensity and being able to move up and down the range of intensity and we say use the whole field,
Yeah.
then leaders are so much more effective in their personal performance as well as how they're interacting and co-creating collective performance with the people around them.
It has me thinking that one of the resources we've used to support leaders and programs is it's our overview diagram with the 3 zones. So autopilot, performance zone, and stress zone. And then we have words overlaid.
It's our word map.
It's our word map. Thank you.
Yeah, I just sent
words
that.
overlaid in different places to help people connect with, I hadn't thought about using this word if I'm at that level of intensity and I'm going in that direction.
Yeah. Yep. You're, again, just sent the word map to someone because leaders who've been working with us, they've been exercising 2-word check-in, 2-word intention, and a purpose within those exercises is starting to learn how to move up and down that scale of intensity, just with themselves and with language.
To land this plane, the one thing I will say to a lot of folks listening is you're probably saying to yourself or you're saying to other people, I want to use language that's appropriate. And this is connected to this flattening of intensity where oftentimes people will say, "Oh, well, I want to be calm and composed," and you're sending messages when you do that. And I'm not saying be uncomposed or act like an idiot or like come across in a crazy way. Also, though, by bringing some of that intentional range to the table,
Yeah.
you're making it very easy for the people to go, "Oh, this is a big freaking deal."
Mhm.
Okay, now I'm getting more of it. And so this appropriate concept or this word of I want to use appropriate language at appropriate level of intensity often doesn't make sense, and it's overly limiting. So if you're someone
For
who's
sure.
using that, we encourage you to
We
say what instead of saying what's appropriate, I'd say what's effective in this situation
Yes.
for how you want to
With
influence
these
this person.
players.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this player or these players about this thing at this time.
So keep an eye on it for yourself, and of course with your team. Keep an eye out for any habits, any autopilot tendencies where you are too easygoing, or patterns around being too composed or just overly composed, and it's working against you in some situations.
Yep. So expand that range. Don't focus on being easygoing, and you'll be leading without the BS.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.